The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Hi, I'm Jenny, the host of It's Murder Up North. If you're curious about the murderous north of England, this podcast is definitely for you. I've lived in various parts of the north of England. I went to college in the shadow of Saddleworth Moor, where Myra Hindley and Ian Brady buried those 5 innocent children. I've worked in the city of Leeds, where the Yorkshire Ripper targeted his victims in the 1970s. Knowing how geographically close I've been to these crimes made me curious, and that curiosity became this podcast. However, my main hope is to help you see the person, not the victim.
Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I talk about things that I feel need talking about, and sometimes they're not getting the attention they deserve. And your feelings, they're not under consideration. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. We're going to start this one out with an announcement of sorts. For those of you that have been following on a regular basis and you're aware of the things that are going on that I've been having to deal with outside of the podcast world, I hope you guys will understand this. I don't think it's really going to impact anybody's lives too much, but I am going to be changing, at least for a while, from a release schedule of Tuesdays and Fridays to just Tuesdays. Honestly, I just have too much going on right now to put out quality content on both days. I don't want to put out a rushed, shitty podcast during the week because with my new job, I've got a lot going on that is taking up a lot of my time during the week. So I'm still going to be releasing new episodes on Tuesdays. I'm not completely going away, but the Friday episodes are going to be suspended until further notice, basically, or until I do some guest sessions, in which point those will probably be the Friday episodes will be the ones with guests, and the Tuesdays will be me ranting and raving about whatever happens to be on my mind at the moment. So, thank you guys for understanding, and I hope it's not too much of a massive disappointment to my tens of followers. So, that being said, let's get to it, all right? So, this week saw the inauguration of the 46th President of the United States of America. And the thing I want to address in relation to that is something that I knew it was going to happen. I more or less called it. I, pulled the Babe Ruth. I called my shot. I knew this was coming. I knew I'd be talking about it. And I know I keep saying I want to get off politics. I know this is not something I enjoy talking about. I want to get back to just bitching about how people in generally suck and are being stupid. And unfortunately, I feel like this kind of ties in with that. And for my non-American listeners, I do apologize for how much time I've been hung up on these things lately. Or not non-American, but not United Statesians. Because, let's be honest, I could have a listener in Canada or maybe one in Mexico, or those are also parts of America, and I'm unlike a lot of this country. I will acknowledge that fact, but I digress. So, the new administration was sworn in, and pretty much as anybody could have guessed, within less than 24 hours, a massive number of executive orders were signed, basically trying to roll back the entire last 4 years. Some of those things are good. Most of them I actually don't have a problem with, except for the ones that are kind of short-sighted in the terms of the fact that something like 50,000 people lost their jobs in the span of about 10 minutes today due to these just unilateral slashings of different projects and regulations and things like that. And I'm all for environmentalism and conservationism because, let's face it, we've got one planet. We've already fucked it up pretty badly. We need to do things to conserve and to exist and to live in longer terms. But that also involves looking at science and looking at alternatives for things that are already in place. We can't just keep saying, oh, well, the only answer is to do this, that, and the other, and it's not necessarily the case. But I'm not going off on some big ego tangent. I want to try and stay focused here on basically what's happened in the last, 36 hours. And the real issue I have with sort of my fellow country people, my fellow Americans, my fellow United Statesians, I've said time and again how I feel about extremists and people that are really buying into all this partisan politics bullshit. And it's not any secret. It's not like it's something that I've been hesitant to speak on over the past months, because it's just so frustrating for somebody like me to sit here and I'm watching this, and it's like watching a trolley car running down the tracks and knowing exactly where it's going to go and not being in any kind of position to pull the brake, which is the only thing that's going to stop the things that are on the horizon. And we've got all these people on both sides of the fence that are screaming and pissed off, and I've realized there's been all these just super unrealistic disconnects I've seen out of the left-wing side of things, because they seem to think that now we've won and we're going to fix everything and everything is going to be better. And the problem is, this was not an overwhelming victory. This was not a vast majority win. This was not anything that was not hotly contested. There is way too much resentment and disagreement, and the problem is these people on the left are way too happy about eking out a victory that is not going to just end all the things they seem to think it's going to fix. It's not some magic solution that all of a sudden is going to turn the world around because the people they wanted to get in won. And I'm just seeing all these celebrations like, oh my God, the Orange Cheeto Man's out of there. The world is fixed. Everything is better now. And it's really not. The problem is these people are stacking all these hopes and dreams and beliefs and change on the same bunch of assholes that got us into this situation in the first place. There is no real change coming by electing lifelong politicians back into power. There is not going to be some massive sweeping wave of justice coming out of these assholes. They're the ones that created the problem in the first place, and they have literally zero incentive to remedy the solutions. So I really am getting fed up with all these people that are acting like the world's just the sun's gonna come up tomorrow and everything's gonna be beautiful and there's gonna be rainbows and unicorns and all kinds of other happy horse shit coming along. It's not in the cards. It's not going to happen. And the disconnect is real because all of these people have drank the Kool-Aid. The left, the right, everybody seems to think that their side's got the answer and that everything that goes wrong is the fault of the other people. Every shitty little terrible thing that comes up in the next 4 years is going to get blamed on the guy that they just voted out of office. And I'm not even going to get into the whole contested votes and all this other shit. I'm sure there was some fuckery going on with the election this year. We received ballots, mail-in ballots, delivered to our home for people that never lived here. So I know things were gone wrong. It's not a conspiracy theory when you have proof in your hand. Now, me being a responsible individual, I simply destroyed the ballots and moved on with my life, but that doesn't mean I'm the only one that received them. Statistically, there's a really good chance there's a lot of them out there. There's a really good chance a lot of them got submitted. There's a really good chance a lot of them got counted. I don't care which side did it. I think both sides are crooked and rotten, and everybody knows that. So, realistically, I've been trying to kind of disconnect from these things, and I have so many people popping up in all my different social media feeds and trying to throw this huge celebration like the world is all of a sudden a better place. Yeah, a very unlikable, detestable individual was booted out of an office that he probably never should have been in the first place. I made my opinions about that abundantly clear the day the election results were announced 4 years ago. I don't really have a dog in this fight in as far as I think they're all worthless assholes. I don't think any one side is really any better than the other. My personal opinions and biases, I am not thrilled with the current executive office holders, but it's not based on party politics or any particular preference other than the fact that they both have absolutely abhorrent track records, which the entire left has conveniently felt the need to excuse and overlook. And I'm not talking about track records like they didn't get anything done or they said something in an awful tweet. I'm talking about verifiable legislative and legal actions taken by both people that these people are celebrating. Saying we got rid of the asshole I don't like and we stuck in these two people because they were the best we could do does not automatically give them, it does not impart virtue upon shitheads just because that was the best that was offered. And I'm a firm believer that there has been way too much of this shit. The American people have become way too permissive of this bullshit. We just shrug it off and say, well, it's what it is, and, well, it's better than the other guy. And this bowing out and accepting the less of two evils, you're still taking something evil. So what in the hell are you actually celebrating? What do you think is going to get so much better? Because the people who happen to agree with forcing your beliefs onto people who don't agree with you, one, that's not magically going to bring peace or unity or any of the other shit people have been saying. I've seen so many different social media posts talking about, oh, justice has returned. You've got someone who has admitted to locking up people for shit she has claimed to do herself. As a prosecutor, she locked up African-American males who is a group she was pandering to, locked them up for marijuana possession charges, and then once it becomes socially okay, she's come out and said, oh yeah, I smoked some weed. Well, what about all the guys you locked up for doing the same shit you just admitted to doing? She's a hypocrite, she's an opportunist, she's a parasite, just like every other career politician. Nothing's going to change by giving people like that more authority in your life. Nothing is going to get better just because they say the words you want to hear and they try and validate your personal bullshit does not make them good people. And I'm really tired of all these people. It's been less than 48 hours since they were sworn in, and the just wave of disgusting oh my God, it's the second coming of sliced white bread. Horse shit. You've got a guy who was the author of some of the most oppressive legislation put into place, and a woman with a record of wrongfully convicting people that she knew to be innocent, and then denying them evidence that could exonerate their cases. These are not like conspiracy theories and, deep web tinfoil hat shit. These are verifiable facts that are public record, but they're not the Cheetos, so everybody's real quick to embrace how fantastic things are going to be. I personally think the next 4 years are going to be every bit the shit show that the last 4 years were, because the far right is not all of a sudden just going to roll over and go away because the left won this election. They are not going to just shrug their shoulders and say, okay, well, y'all won. You get your way now. Things are not going to become just, oh, everybody's going to be permissive and forgiving and accepting. Because regardless of how you slice it, that's not what the left is preaching any more than what the right is preaching. They preach acceptance and love and understanding as long as it's understanding and acceptance and love of the people who agree with their beliefs, just like the right does. The right is real supportive of people that co-sign the same shit they do. The left is real supportive of the people that co-sign their bullshit. Neither side is willing to say we need to meet in the middle if we're ever going to make any progress. I've harped on this so many times over the last year. And since the inception of this show, this is a reoccurring theme. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's not something that's hard. All it is pulling your head far enough out of your ass to see the lies that are being put in front of your face and realizing that that's what they are. None of what is going to happen is going to be beneficial for the entire country. It's going to be beneficial for a segment of the country that the people in control feel will further their own ends. It's not about us, it's about them. And acting like it's anything else is willful ignorance. It's pathetic. It's grasping at straws, hoping that the past and the standing record of issues that have been part of our lives for as long as some of us can remember, and most of these assholes that I'm really taking issue with are the ones that have been in office longer than I've been alive. There is literally no reason people in their late 70s and early 80s should be representing this country at that level, because you should be retired at that age. That is what is representative of that age category in this country. Not out there setting policy and thinking you know best. You ran this country into the fucking ground, and you seem to think you are somehow entitled to keep doing it. And somehow these assholes keep getting elected. Between the influence of special interest groups and private donors, and I mean, I can't even say this shit because it's gotten to be so widely spread as conspiracy theory, but it's not theory, and it is a conspiracy. It's something that's being done to literally everyone in this country. And sadly, most of the country is willing participants in this shit. If they weren't, it never would work. But they get the illusion of influence and the idea that they have these freedoms when realistically they're being told what to think and how to act on a daily basis. And it's just a matter of picking whether you're drinking the grape Kool-Aid or the strawberry. Either way, you're still drinking the Kool-Aid and you're still buying in and you're still going along with it. So just shut up with this, oh, things are going to get better now bullshit. They're not. Things will only get better through the actions of people. They're not going to get better by putting more faith in the same assholes that ran this place into the ground in the first place, by the ones that put profit ahead of the well-being of the planet, by the assholes that are writing the policies that have put people in jail for minor infractions while they sit up there on their ivory towers untouchable, committing heinous acts against the people that they are living off of. They do not do anything for us besides better themselves and their own situations. They are parasitic. They are not beneficial. People need to realize this. I'm so fed up with this shit. And it just keeps rolling over and over. And I promised myself I was going to walk away from this. I was going to stop talking about this shit. And then this deluge of self-righteous, yay, we won shit starts flooding its way into my life. And I try so hard not to let these things impact me, not to let my opinions of someone change based on how they choose to swing their political votes and their beliefs. If you're a good person, I try and give you that. I try and say, you're a good person, you're fair to me, you treat other people decently. I'm not going to judge you based on this other shit. Because if I did that, I wouldn't have any friends left at all.
Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
Ultimately, I hope things get better. I would, whatever power you want to believe in, if you believe in prayer or you believe in putting out good vibes or anything, put the people of this country in your thoughts and your prayers and whatever the hell else you got. But don't sit around waiting for anybody else to fix the problems either. Don't expect some magical finger to come out of the sky and put itself on the hearts of the world and make things better. It doesn't happen. It's not going to work that way. You have to actively be the change. To be the change and actively be a better person in this society, you can't do it just by going out one day every 2 years and voting. You can't do it by saying, well, I support the group that says they're going to do this, because these groups have been getting support for as long as I've been alive and shit hasn't gotten any better. It's technologically, we've gotten better. There have been scientific advances, but the general moral compass of this country has gone right in the shitter. And I'm not saying moral compass in that respect that the far right likes to grasp onto, because they have a problem with people's identities or people's orientations or any of that other shit. I'm a firm believer in freedom of choice. If you don't affect me directly with your decisions, then I don't give a shit what you do. It's real cut and dry. I tolerate and accept and love people based on their individual behaviors, not any of that other petty little shit. And maybe I'm just being an elitist or whatever you want to call it. Maybe I'm just somebody who's out here thinking I'm better than everybody else, just like every one of the other people on this planet. There are very few people that are truly selfless and truly giving and truly have everyone else's opinions and values and best interests at heart. I think I'm probably better than a lot of people, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think I'm better than a lot of people, because even if I don't agree with you, I will respect the fact that you have the right to have an opinion different than mine. I'm not going to think any less of you for having a different opinion. I'll think less of you for how you implement that opinion, how you act based on your feelings and your decisions. But the fact that you disagree with me is not ever going to be the deciding factor on whether or not I think you're a fucking idiot. It's going to be your behaviors and your actions and your choices and the things you have conscious control over. Those are the things upon which I will judge you, and I will decide whether or not you're a friggin' idiot. And with that being said, part of me that's the optimist, the part of me that really wants the best for everyone, and I really do, genuinely in the depths of my soul, or whatever passes for it, or whatever's left of it at this point, I want the world to be a better place. I want it to be a better place for my kid and for my potential future grandkids if I ever wind up with grandkids. And the people that are going to come after me, I want this place to be better for them. I want it to still be here for them. I want people to be able to live their lives and pursue their happiness and live their truths. I really do. I want all these things with everything I have. The problem is, I don't expect to see them. I am a cynic. I am an optimistic cynic. Go figure. Try and figure that one out. I think the Venn diagrams are there. They just don't have a real big overlap on them. But I hope we all do better. I hope we all have good lives. I want us to be well. I want us to be happy. I want the people that deserve horrible and terrible things. And yes, I do believe some people deserve horrible, terrible things to happen to them. I hope there are less of those people. I hope there are less genuinely shitty, terrible people out there. But ultimately, I hope for the best. I expect the worst. If things go sideways, I'm never surprised. And when they work out, I'm pleasantly amused. I hope things get better. I hope everyone who's out there celebrating right now and lauding this victory in their minds, even though it goes against what I'm saying and what I'm calling as is going to happen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope for all of our sakes I'm wrong. And the issue is I really don't think I am. I mean, time will tell, obviously. I can't predict the future any better than anyone else. I can make educated guesses, and I'm guessing things aren't going to get better. I think the fight is just starting. The extremists on both sides are not just going to go away because this election's over. So, in the meantime, take care of each other, be good to each other, be good to yourselves. Every one of us is worthy of appreciation, and we're all good people. We have to remember that. I mean, yes, there are terrible people out there, and I'm not delusional enough to think there's not. I'm not going to walk around with blinders on saying everything is sunshine and rainbows, but we need to strive to be the people that we can be. We need to work on realizing our potential. accept each other, love each other. It's really, it's. I keep coming back to it. It's what we need to do. You don't have to necessarily like somebody to respect them. That's one of those things that we have apparently forgotten. Everyone wants to be liked, and they equate being liked with being respected. Not everybody's going to like you. And when you come to terms with that, when you come to grips with that, you'll find yourself a little bit happier because you'll realize if they don't directly impact your life, it really doesn't matter what they think of you. So just take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. And for now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode of I Had to Say It. If you liked what you heard, leave a review, give us a follow, give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what you heard, leave a review, give me a follow, give me some feedback. I'll try and fix it. Check us out on all the social media platforms. At I Had to Say It podcast is the trigger for all that stuff, for the search term. And if you want, check out the website, www.ihadtosayitpodcast.com. There's links to people that have been involved with the program, things I've talked about. There are some links available for some merch that we're working on, and there are ways to contact us there as well. And thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.